The main selling point of these automation base building games is that you harvest resources so you can build a massive complex of factories and machines that automatically harvest those resources for you, so you can then build even more factories that collect even more resources than before. And almost every single one of these types of games has this endless feedback loop at the core of its gameplay. So without extra content or an overarching goal to work towards, it quickly devolves into less of a game and more of a to-do list if it's not executed very well. And I believe Techtonica is on the cusp of that in its early access state, at least right now. Techtonica is a first-person automation game that is set on the alien planet of Calyx, where you have been sent to mine and harvest its vast resources in order to be sent back to Earth. But like a lot of these sci-fi stories go, somebody forgets to close a window or something, and you end up getting stranded under the planet's surface in its vast underground caverns. So you spend the majority of the game trying to piece together what exactly happened while trying to find a way home. Pretty standard setup for this kind of game, so let's see what exactly sets Techtonica apart from the rest of its peers. The game starts with you exiting a cryopod of some kind with no memory of what happened or why you're really here. So you spend the majority of the game exploring all the abandoned facilities and caverns for any other signs of survivors. And soon enough, you do find someone, but not the way you think. Turns out that in the future, people have learned to turn themselves into large glowing Rubik's Cubes, and so you end up carrying the people you meet in your inventory. I definitely wasn't expecting this, and it immediately made me more interested in figuring out what exactly the story is here, and how they managed to achieve this. But unfortunately, this is probably one of the weakest points of the game itself. The majority of the story bits in the game are told through scannable items you find in abandoned outposts littering the map as you explore. And every single one of these outposts has a locked door you have to unlock in order to get in. No big deal, you just need the key to open it up. Except none of the doors have a key for some reason. Instead, you have to fill out an order of resources and products to be built in your factories in order to open it. So you have to completely leave, go all the way back to your home base, and come back later when you have the actual things you need to quote-unquote repair the locked door. This method of storytelling really kills any momentum your plot has, and makes exploring really more tedious than engaging. Like, imagine you're watching Lord of the Rings, and you get to the final battle when Aragorn is about to lead his army into Mordor. And right as he's about to deliver the best line in the whole movie and charge straight into battle, the movie stops abruptly and starts playing a 10-minute ad about shaving cream or something. Now you gotta sit there and think about how you forgot to shave this week for 10 minutes straight and get completely pulled out of the movie you were watching. That's what this game's story feels like the whole way through. And I'm sure some people are gonna like slowly progressing the story as they build new things. But I just feel that the story shouldn't be so intertwined with whether or not you have developed your home base, and should have a more streamlined narrative. Honestly, if they removed the locked doors and instead created some kind of roadblock in between key regions of the map, I think that would be less of a hindrance on the overall plot they are trying to convey here. But I'm not a game dev, so don't quote me on that. Outside of pursuing the story, you spend your time exploring the nearby tunnels and caverns, mining and harvesting away all the minerals and local plant life you can find, feeding it into your factories to build all kinds of products and unlocking new technologies to build even more products. The mining is pretty straightforward. You are given access to a void gun that basically sucks things into a mini black hole, letting you create tunnels and collect piles of materials easily. And there's a lot to collect, with dozens of plants and minerals covering every inch of these caverns, making resource hunting more about optimizing your efficiency than having to hunt down that one deposit you need. But even though resources are plentiful, you'll still want to explore the environments here, as each region has its own unique look to it, giving a lot of good moments for screenshots of the almost art piece-like landscapes you'll run into down here. But if you want to focus more on progressing the story, which is the main driving force in-game, then you'll be spending most of your time managing your factories. And there's not much to report on there. You've got mining drills to harvest deposits which you connect to smelters that then turn those deposits into ingots, which then connect to assemblers that build specific products you assign. You can also build planters to grow your own crops, but the real standout pieces are the core composers and power buildings. Let's start with the first one. In Techtonica, you have a tech tree that requires cores to unlock new technologies. You do this by physically building a tech core that you then place somewhere in the game world. Now you're going to need hundreds of these cores to unlock everything, so that's where the core composer comes in. If you feed the cores into the composer, they automatically stack all of it into this giant tree to save you time and space. Just make sure you choose the spot you place it down wisely, as the cores aren't taken down if you dismantle the composer. The second standout piece is the power buildings. You start off the game with crank generators, which give you power for 5 minutes every time you manually crank it. It makes the early game a bit of a challenge, but later on you get water wheels that connect directly to the crank generators to automatically crank them for you. The only caveat is you have to place the wheels in running water, which is something I haven't seen in a game before, so that was really cool to me. Outside of that, the only other noteworthy buildings I've found are the voltage steppers, which connect distant power grids together using high voltage cables, and a monorail system that transports goods using a train-like rail system. If you've ever played Satisfactory, you're going to feel real comfortable with this system. In fact, that's the best way I can describe this game to you. It's Satisfactory, but underground. And the story is Subnautica, but not underwater. If those two games had a baby, it would be Techtonica. The last thing I want to talk about, real quick, is the performance. I know that most of the games I review on this channel are either indie games or early access titles, but I really need to emphasize that Techtonica is an extreme case of an early access game. Frame rate drops are pretty frequent, with extreme cases of objects popping into and out of the game constantly and rather suddenly. And the game's graphics are not that detailed, so that tells me that the game needs a lot more optimization behind the scenes before it's ready for a full release. So to summarize, Techtonica has the framework to stand out from the crowd with its unique story and setting, but is hindered by its repetitive gameplay loop and inconsistent performance. If you enjoy this type of game, then there is certainly fun to be had here. Will you get 30 hours of playtime from this package? Probably not. But I did not fully complete the story and could be missing something, so I'll leave the final verdict of this game up to you. But that's all I wanted to say, so thank you for watching this review, and I hope you found it helpful or entertaining in some way. If you did, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to get notified of more reviews in the future. If you have any other games you want me to take a look at, or any critiques on the review itself, let me know in the comments below. Thank you again for watching, and goodbye.